Record button. We'll go. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Love What You Do show. My guest today is Lyndsie Olivia, and she's going to share her journey of going through a traumatic accident and then discovering what she really cares about now and doing what she loves. And she's got she's going to get into what EFT is, but she's got a Facebook group. If you search in Facebook under the EFT tapping group, you'll be able to find her and the work she does. She does several like free introductory, sessions each week, and just leads a group of people, through a healing process inside of it. So welcome, Lyndsie.
Thanks, Brad. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. So I want to dig in. I don't know what happened. All I know is the woman that's, sitting in front of me across the internet right now that looks pretty happy. And so I want to find out, who you were before you got into your healing process, and then really kind of dig in to what that process was like and how you became more confident and secure with who you are and inside of that whole healing process.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to share. So about 8 years ago, I was in South Korea and I was teaching English as a foreign language there, and I had gotten into rock climbing. And I was really into it. So I went back for a second year of teaching. And about about a month into that, I fell 30 feet while I was climbing a route and fell to the ground and shattered a whole bunch of bones in my lower body. So that was the first type of accident I'd ever been in. It was the first kind of trauma or broken bones that I've even had. And so the way that I look at the accident is kind of my awakening. And I know you have a lot of listeners who have gone through some pretty hard things in their life and maybe looking for, what is my purpose? And I know, Brad, you and I talked about why I'm here today and what I'm here to share. And what I'm here to share with the world is actually stems from that incident, because it completely changed the trajectory of my life and who I see myself to be. So what it did for me was it woke me up, really. The literal crash, breaking open of my physical body.
Yeah.
Got me to ask those deeper questions of what am I really living for? Because before the accident, which I'm really now calling a miracle, is a miracle that I didn't die. It was a miracle that I'm not in a wheelchair. And so when something like that happens to you, and you might be able to relate, when something so incredibly just eye-opening happens, you have to say why. You have to ask, well, why me? Why am I not, 6 feet under? And so the answer that I got was that you're here to connect and help other people. You're here to let them know that whatever your hardest thing in your life has been, whatever that one thing that you thought you'd never get through, or that you thought your life was over, you thought your whole identity maybe was just completely swept under, you don't even know who you are anymore. That's what happened to me.
Yeah.
My identity, who I thought I was wrapped around my physical body and how much fun I could have, how hard of climb I could do, or all the other kind of physical activities that I was really hooked on, and I could no longer do those things. I could no longer rock climb. I could no longer walk. It took me a good year to not walk with a cane.
Wow.
So, the recovery process of asking myself, who am I? And also coming up against those fears of people's judgments of, why are you walking with a cane? What happened? So my answer was I had to tell people, yeah, my knot came undone on my harness. So it was the facing of the story. Whose fault was that? In that, when
Yeah.
it came down to it, it was my fault. I didn't double tie my knot on my harness. So as I was getting lowered, I it came undone and I fell 30 feet. So that was an experience of itself, getting rescued by my friends rescued by a helicopter
Wow.
on top of a mountain with the sun going down. Almost didn't make it. So it was a near death experience that opened my eyes. But it really took it, even though in the hospital bed, I knew that it happened for a reason. It was kind of an instant download, if you will. I didn't know what that reason was at the moment. It was kind of just a gift that I see from my higher self or from my my angels that were letting me know, hey, you're okay. You're going to be okay. This is happening for a reason. Um, but that reason did unfold for probably a year or two when I was really desperate for someone to connect with, or someone who had been through a certain experience that I had been through. And maybe your listeners could also identify with this as well, with feeling that loneliness of a life change, or feeling the desperateness of maybe being in a trauma yet having no one to relate to, and you have people around you who can empathize, and you have people around you who can say, man, that's hard and I'm here for you. But I was looking for someone who had actually been in an accident, and I was looking for someone who had a similar experience that I could talk to, but I didn't know anybody. I had gone from South Korea, where all my friends were, back to Kansas City. And I couldn't find a support group for accident survivors. So there, I was, I don't know what got into me, but I just said, well, I'm going to start one myself. I'm going to start a support group. I have no idea what that would be like. I've never done that. I just can't be that hard, right? I mean, we just kind of get together and we talk about it. But I knew that I didn't want to talk about how hard it was. I didn't want to, I didn't want to sit around and be like kind of be sad together. That's what I saw support groups as. So,
I've definitely heard of that. Like, I don't want to sit around and just talk about our problems. I want to do stuff,
yeah,
And I get
right.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I knew that. So I said, well, I've got this tool that I've learned called EFT tapping. About 6 years ago, I'd come across it online and I had instantly fell in love with it. I was really into psychology at the time. I was really into energy. Actually, I was just beginning to discover energy, as far as, having it be applied to my life and the way that the world works. And EFT was an energy psychology. So I
Yeah.
was just hooked at the time, got really into it.
Did you find it before the accident?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you started using it after, right?
Right. I found it before the accident, didn't use it until I needed something to help me cope with the fall. So the emotional aspect of trauma, a lot of people can probably identify with, is even harder than the physical. The adjustment that happens when your life changes in an instant, and then you've got all of the things to deal with. So I decided to bring that tool into the group, and started in this old kind of rundown church / yoga studio in Midtown. and it's no longer there. It actually burned down. So, but uh, it was cool because people, I don't even know if I got one person who had been in an accident, but people showed up for the EFT. So we began just tapping together, and it's lucky for me, a tool that you can't really mess up. So it was easy enough to teach, can't mess it up. So I figured, well, this will be a good way to also just help people and give them a tool to learn, to help them cope with whatever it is in their life. Even if I didn't get someone to connect with on the accident level, I actually got a bigger gift that I wasn't expecting, was seeing that my path is being someone who supports others and someone who gets people together to feel like they're not alone.
That's cool.
Yeah. And it stemmed because I wanted that for myself. You know, I wanted that connection with other people who had been through something similar. And it turned out that I was the one that's supposed to give it.
Like the thing you want most, the universe or God wants to demonstrate that you can be that, but you've got to be that first. It's such like a paradox, right?
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah. And it's such a gift right now being able to speak about it too with you, Brad, because it's a good reminder that those things in my life that I feel I'm missing is what I'm supposed to be giving. And I've done that before, you know, and it's led me here to continue to and love doing it, enjoy doing it. It hasn't stopped. So
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
What I'm curious. So you found tapping before, right? As therapeutic. What was going on, during that time before that tapping really helped with?
Yeah. So at the time I was living in San Diego,
Mm-hmm.
and I was kind of going through a lot of loss with different jobs and friends, and I didn't know I didn't have the tools I had at the time, as far as meditation or coping like productively. So I was smoking a lot of marijuana. I was not grounded in myself. I didn't really know who I was, and I didn't know anything about spirituality or about energy healing, or I just didn't know.
Yeah.
And so this EFT thing came along through the tapping solution uh, summit. So, and if any listeners are interested in how can I get more information about EFT, that's a great place to start. They do an annual free tapping summit, and I happened to find it somehow online about 9 years ago, something like that, and listened every day, and tried it. And I don't know, what I've discovered is some people's energy systems like really align with EFT right away. And I was one of those people where I tried it and I was just blown away, and I got results instantly. And it was just this amazing thing. And I didn't care if I looked silly tapping on myself. I was at home by myself anyway. So I used it every day and I just loved it.
So let's ask the obvious question, because that's like in my mind, I know now, but the question that's coming to mind is like, what is it? What is tapping?
Yeah. So I mentioned earlier, it's an energy psychology, but really what we're doing is we're doing acupressure on meridian points around the face and the torso.
Mm-hmm.
And it's working with the fear center of the brain. And Brad, you're into fear.
You're into fear. I just don't want it.
You're into
I'm into going through it and seeing the other seeing the good stuff on the other side of it.
I know. And I'm just teasing you because you called it the fear challenge. I'm like, oh, we're diving into fear. All right, cool.
We're going through it.
Yeah. So this is a tool that is super effective because it's actually working with the amygdala, this part of our brain that tells us we're not safe and that we're in danger. And the amygdala is actually going off anytime we have a negative emotion. So even if we have some sadness, anger, that's all related, and that's all part of fear, according to our brain.
Yeah.
So yeah, so when we're tapping on these energy points, we're calming down the amygdala. We're saying that we're safe, even though we have this emotion. Even though I have this sadness or anger, even though I have this frustration or rage, even though I have this fear, I'm safe in feeling this feeling. So when we send that signal through the tapping, through stimulating these energy points, our system actually relaxes, and the fear or the negative emotion just passes right through us.
It's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. And even though I say a negative emotion, I really don't think there's anything, there's not really any negative feelings that we have. These are all just part of our human experience that are meant to be here, that are meant to show us who we are, and give us the full spectrum of, like, life experience. So
It's
that's what
like,
tapping can do. It can just ease that.
so it's like, it's the lizard part of the brain, right?
Well,
What
I think
some people describe.
it's actually one, it's just one case. It's like one layer above the reptilian. I think it's the mammalian, if I'm not mistaken.
Gotcha. I'm not going to pretend I'm a doctor and I know this stuff.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is it's kind of like petting the alligator to calm it down.
Yeah, that's a good
It
I
might
had
bite
never
your hand
thought
though.
of that. I had never just petting the alligator. I don't know how effective petting alligators are to calm it down.
Probably. But you can
You
tap them on the head, right?
can tap them on around the eyebrow and the eye, and yeah.
Not
Yeah,
recommended in real life at alligator parks.
I would not recommend it. I'd stick to just yourself at this point.
Yeah. Sorry, I just have an image of someone blaming you and be like, I tried to tap the alligator on the head and I lost my arm.
Oh, I'm sorry. We should tap on that with your good
Yeah, you
arm.
shouldn't tap on the alligator.
We'll tap on what happened with your other arm.
This is where my lizard brain goes to. Goofy
Yeah.
scenarios.
Yeah.
So it really helps with, like, what I kind of hear is that it helps divert some of those fear thoughts and some of the things that are going on, and brings it out of that, right?
Yeah, or you could say it processes it.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we're scared or when we've got something that was really upsetting, what we do is we hold it inside.
Yeah.
And that's literally energy that's stuck in our body. And it can cause health issues. It can cause tension. It can cause us to redirect that fear to someone else, project it onto them, blame them for something. You see that the people in the car who get cut off and they just get enraged, and it's not really about being cut off. It's because their wife or their kid or their coworker like made them mad and hurt their feelings, but they don't recognize that, so they take it out on the person
Yeah.
on the road. Just a small example of what we can do in the situation of getting angry or being scared, is recognizing it as what it is and feeling it in the body, and the tapping helps process and, in a sense, release what's going on, so that this body can calm down and you can move on. You can move on with your day, and not let it affect your health, not let it affect your relationships or yourself. Just feeling better. Just how can I let these emotions be as they are, process them, and so I can move on and open up to better things for myself, better things for my life, even to God or to spirit or whatever your specific goal is.
It's cool. The thing that's, I'll be real in the moment, right? Because fear challenge, right? And I'm like, I don't want to do this on camera right now. So like if someone's watching, and for people listening, what does it look like? Can you walk me through, through the lens of your voice, what that kind of can go through? Is there a way for you to do that so someone can walk away and go, oh, okay, I think I have a general idea of what I should be doing, and then if they don't, then they can obviously come and find you. But what's that look like?
for the tapping.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, it's getting present with your emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And so the protocol is also to give it a rating of intensity. So it's a subjective rating of how intense, for example, the fear might be.
Okay.
So, Brad, what's something that scares you?
Well, we don't want to talk about this.
I
We want to avoid this. We're not going to
thought
talk
this
about
was
this.
your
Let's
whole, I
talk.
thought
How's Denver? How's everything else? Let's
this
talk
is,
about this. So yeah, like I have right now, I've been able to identify this through lots of different processes. But one of my biggest, and I could say it feels like my cornerstone fear is, what are they going to think about me?
uh-huh.
You know,
Yeah.
what is someone that's watching or seeing this going to think about me if I do something that seems weird? And
Perfect.
where I feel that in my body is I feel it in the pit of my stomach. I feel that like uneasiness, of like, what are they going to think about me? And I know where this comes from for me, from a moment back in my childhood when I got made fun of, right?
Okay.
And actually, I wasn't made fun of. Someone was just pointing something out, and I interpreted that as being made fun of, or that
Yeah.
I was weird. And I'm able to share that now because I've gone through my process and I understand it. So I've got this fear in my stomach on a rating of 1 to 10. I would say 6 or 7-ish,
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what I would do is probably pause you and ask what specifically are you facing right now in your life that you're afraid of what they'll think?
It's in that same realm. What are they going to think of me? What are they going to think of me? They're going to think my voice isn't strong enough. I'm not good looking enough. Who am I? Like all of those like thoughts might show
Perfect.
up. They
Yeah.
can't see the bottom of my shirt right now that says smile. And if they don't poke it,
Yeah.
it doesn't come
Yeah.
up, like it's not good enough. Right.
Yeah.
Is it facing forward?
It.
Okay, cool. All right. To
Yeah.
me, it's backwards. Right. And all of those things, like this ear sticks out a little bit, if you can't see that on the podcast, you can't see that on the podcast, never mind. But you get it. So yeah, like all of those like things like start to, I don't want to say boil up. And before, when I really wasn't conscious of them, they would just have me pull back. Like I wouldn't do anything. I would just,
Yeah.
what would happen for me the next shiny object would show up and I'd be like, oh, that'll help. That'll help. I'll go do that. I'll go listen to this, go do a workout or go watch this or whatever. Lots of different things. Anything to avoid really going through this fear. Right.
Yeah. Right.
And so did that answer your question?
Yeah, that's good. And it's great that you have the body sensation of the fear. And so with tapping, it works really well if you're specific to have something to test it against, if that makes sense. So you have a fear of what they'll think. And so my question would be, what's an endeavor that you're in, or what will you be doing to where the fear is in the way and may hold you back. And it can be something like calling someone up and asking for a date, right? Like you mentioned that was something on your list.
Yeah.
So if I was to coach you with EFT, I would say this is great. This is a great topic. This is a great focus. How can we focus even more so that it's going to give you real results in your life? And you can generally tap also. You can just generally tap on what they will think, and it'll go down, and they call that global tapping, and you'll feel a little bit better. But what can we tap on specific for you? What can we tap on? Like, oh, I've got to write a blog post about something vulnerable, and there's this fear of what they're going to think. Great. Well, let's tap on what are they going to think about this blog post?
Yeah.
What are they going to think about if I share this piece of information? And that way, as we tap, like we're tapping on meridian points, we're tapping on these energy points, your system knows where to go because you have a focus in your mind. And also your specific fear, it is going to feel a little different in one part of your body than another fear is going to feel a little different in another part. And so we're working on it systematically as we tap. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense, but then once you start doing it, I think it lands a little differently, right?
Yeah. The experience is always the best,
Yeah.
you know,
It's like reading about sex and then having sex. Two completely different
Yeah, that's all exactly what I compare it to. All whenever I teach tapping, it's totally it's
hey,
like
whatever you want to do in your
my
sessions is
analogy.
totally fine.
um,
So do you want to do it? Just like give a demonstration? I
I
mean,
would love to.
I'll do
Sure.
it. I'll be the guinea pig.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So do you have something specific, or do you want to do it just generally?
Oh, let's do the fear of like rejection.
Okay.
I'm supposed to be the guinea pig here, so I gotta be.
Yeah. Do you have a specific?
Careful what you ask for in life. You want to be a leader? Oh God.
Okay. So fear of rejection is a certain part of your work or your life that you're afraid of rejection.
So there's two things. One is, asking for, a sale, which really I'm really transcending to, which is really just being of service to people. And then this is what it costs, or this is what the payment would be. And then the fear of rejection, asking women out. Those are two big things.
Okay. So which one would you like to do today?
Damn it. I'm thinking to myself, well, which one would be the bigger one? And the one that
let's do the bigger one.
Okay. Yeah. And so it's the fear of like, asking women out.
Okay,
So they've been pretty equal. Now that one's started to dissipate, the payment one or the money one, and the other one's still there. So, and I know it's starting to go away too. So.
Okay, good. So would you ask the women out on the phone?
On phone, in person, whatever, doesn't matter.
Okay. Well, the reason I asked because I want to get you in touch with the feeling that happens when you imagine asking a woman out.
Death and destruction. I have to run. Bye.
Perfect. Great.
No, it's that.
Yeah, that's okay.
It doesn't bring up death, but it brings up like that immediate like turn on your heels and run.
Okay.
Right? Like, gotta go, get me out of here.
Okay.
I do not want to experience this,
Okay, good.
Whatever that is. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we use these kind of scenarios and tapping just to bring up the feeling of what it really feels like to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that way, when we tap and we calm the system down, we calm our amygdala down, when you get to that situation, you're already going to be destimulated in a sense. You're going to be like, you're not going to have that, I'm going to die, I got to run, death and destruction.
So if you're at a bar, you should do this.
You can, yeah. You can literally go to the bathroom, which I've done before. You can go to the bathroom. You can like find a little corner to hide, start tapping. But what I like even better is, to do it when I'm, calm in my own place and I know something's coming up and I have the space to really bring up the fear.
Yeah.
So we're really paying attention. We're really not putting our fear aside with tapping and acknowledging what is so and what we usually tend to just push under the surface and not pay attention to.
Yeah.
And so let's do some tapping. How much time do we have, Brad?
We have 4 hours.
We have 4 hours. Perfect. Okay.
Just kidding. Let's see. We've got a few more minutes here. Let's just do a general exercise so people, and when you're demonstrating, just think of the people that are listening to this too. Just so they know, like, oh, I'm tapping, by my eyebrow or whatever, just so they get it. So.
Okay. Perfect. So people who aren't seeing us visual can also tap along. I'll go ahead and call the points out.
Yeah.
So first, what I like you to do, Brad, is imagine you're in the moment of asking a woman out, whether it's on the phone or in face to face, and you want to ask her out. And what happens in your body? Can you describe the sensations and where it's located?
Yeah, just that pit of the stomach, weird, awkward feeling, or like sensation of, I don't want to say it's a burning sensation. That's a whole other That's a whole other section. Never mind.
Okay, yeah,
Um,
that's what comes after.
yeah, that comes after. But yeah, just that like weird pit, um, uneasiness in the stomach, if that makes sense.
Okay, great. So your listeners can also follow along with any other kind of fear that they have by also getting in touch with where they're feeling it in the body and notice the sensations. So go ahead and just close your eyes for a moment. And like a GPS, I want you to find that uneasiness pit of your stomach, or who's listening, where that is in your body.
Got it.
And find the exact location of the most intense spot.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And rate the intensity on a scale of 1 to 10. How intense is that for you?
I would say about an 8. It kind of
Okay.
fluctuates a little bit, but somewhere around there.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to call this sensation this fear. Does that sound right? We're going to call it fear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rejection fear of rejection.
Fear of rejection. Perfect. So listeners, you can also write down what the emotion is for you, whether it's fear, it could be anger or sadness. That's, this is going to work the same across all emotions or situations as far as how does it feel in the body, where exactly is it, and how intense is it on a scale of 1 to 10. So now that we have the location and the emotion and the body, this is when we start tapping. And as we tap, we're going to continue to focus on the feeling, going to continue to keep our awareness on the sensation and the emotion. And you might get some images in your head as we tap of what's the worst case scenario? What is, I'm going to be asking this woman out. Holy shit. This is intense. So keep your awareness on that. We really want to be feeling and looking at the fear as we tap. Okay.
Gotcha.
All right. So the first spot, as we're feeling the fear, is the side of the hand. And you can tap along with me, Brad.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, the side of the hand. You can go on the left hand or the right hand, tapping with the opposite hand fingertips. It doesn't matter because our system crosses over. So you can do either side. And so we do a setup statement. It's an even though statement. We say it 3 times on the side of the hand. It goes something like this: even though I have this fear, and Brad, you can repeat after me.
I don't want to. Even though I have this fear.
I don't want to feel it.
I don't want to feel it.
The truth is, I feel it in my stomach.
The truth is, I feel it in my stomach.
Even though I have this fear of rejection in my stomach.
Even though I have this feeling of rejection in my stomach.
I'm going to be present with how I feel.
I'm going to be present with how I feel.
Yeah. And so what we're doing, we are setting up the fear, and we're ending it with a positive affirmation of being present for what we'd like instead. So we'll say the 3rd time, even though I have this fear of rejection.
Even though I have this fear of rejection.
And then what's something you'd like to create instead, Brad, that feels real to you?
A peace and confidence.
Okay. I choose to be peaceful and confident.
I choose to be peaceful and confident.
Great. And so we're going to tap on the eyebrow point, right where the eyebrow starts. In the middle of the forehead, yeah. And you can do both sides with both hands, or you can do one side with one hand, either side. It doesn't matter. And as we tap, we're still focusing on the fear. How's that feel in your stomach right now? And we use a reminder phrase. So to make it really easy, just name the emotion as you're tapping. So Brad, we could say something like this fear.
This fear. Now, should I say rejection?
Sure, this fear of rejection.
This fear of rejection.
And we'll go on the side of the eye. Eye bone is, and we'll just say the same thing, this fear of rejection.
This fear of rejection.
And you go under the eye, right below the pupil, still feeling the fear. This fear of rejection.
This fear of rejection.
The next point is under the nose above the lip and that crease there.
All right.
What if she says no?
So what?
So what we're doing is we're voicing the fear. And what does it say, Brad? What would, if you're rejected, like, what does that look like? What if she laughs at me?
But before I've done a lot of work, it was, you know, I'm going to be alone. Why don't they like me? Like all of these kind of things. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's really subsided. And it's more in the realm of like, who cares? Right. I know
Okay.
I'm starting to learn it's really not, has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
what we're doing,
they might be crazy.
Yeah. That's good. And this is good. And what we're doing now, we're still focusing on the fear.
Yeah.
Let's finish the round. So we go on the next one is the chin.
All right.
The fear that's in your stomach. Just focus and say this fear.
This fear.
On the chest, and it's right below the collarbone on both sides.
Oh, okay. Both sides.
Mm-hmm. This fear.
This fear of rejection.
What if she says no, or whatever that fear is saying in the moment in your gut.
Stop reminding me.
Yeah, we want to remind ourselves because we are looking at what our minds are usually always saying to us inside of the fear, right? We're bringing it up to the surface. We're acknowledging that these thoughts are there. This fear is there. It's not something usually our mind wants to say, oh, but I'm fine. This is our opportunity to really feel what we are feeling all the time anyway, that aren't acknowledging. We're acknowledging it now.
Yeah.
So then the next point is under the arm where the bra line is for women.
Ooh,
for Brad, you just have to pretend, but no, it's
I can go get a bra if I need to.
Yeah, you don't need a bra for tapping. If you're a guy, it's hand width below the armpit.
Sexist.
Apologize, all the men out there.
Man boobs is a thing.
If we go to the top of the head. Yeah. Okay, so that's a full round.
Cool.
You could keep going. So a lot of times with the clients or groups, I'll keep going. But after that, we'll just reevaluate. So what we do is feel into that part of your stomach now, Brad, where the fear was. Mm-hmm. And rate it. How intense is it, would you say, after the tapping on a scale of 1 to 10?
I would say it is less. And I don't know, I guess it's gone down to like 6 to 4-ish, but it feels like it's like, only way I can kind of describe it is it felt more like a little bit of a hard rock, and it feels more like it's been cracked, if that makes sense, you know?
Sure. Yeah.
And yeah, so.
That's great. So you did 1 round of tapping, which took us maybe 60 seconds, and you brought your fear down by 30% to 50%.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You know, that's a big shift for a fear that's been there for a long time. So I just want to remind people who are doing the tapping, if you don't have a huge shift and you just get a 20% difference, that's a big deal, you know? So keep going, keep tapping. You're making progress with the tapping, and you're making progress by acknowledging how you really feel. And that's I think one of the most important things.
Yeah, you know what I just am realizing now is the tapping process really brings you present to the fear. It really brings you present to the body emotion, and doesn't let it like just take a hold of you. Right. And kind of like it helps you realize it so you can start the release process.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, it's really good insight. That's what I tell people. If you get your number down from an 8 to a 5 or an 8 to a 4, you've just moved it on the scale enough to where it's not controlling you. Because if our fears are at above a 5, and this is just generally speaking, they will stop you from doing that thing you want to do. They'll control you, or you'll your life will be run by them. You don't have to get rid of all of the fear, all the anger, all the sadness in order for you to be able to move on, or to do the things you want to do. You can get it down to a 0, but if you work on it just a little bit, then you can make a big difference in like how you act and who you are. So
Thank you.
yeah.
And I had to share too, like I had 2 fears going on at the same time, like, oh God, I'm on the internet looking like a weirdo. And at the same time sharing something, that's been real for me. And yeah, and I want to share this too. Like sometimes people can look at other people and think that they're really courageous, right? Like, oh my God, who is this person? Why do they get to be like that? Why can't I have that? Right.
Yeah.
And I have found that when I do something in the face of like being of service to others, that really helps.
Yeah.
Like it's been proven that when you are in service of others, it lights up the same pleasure receptors in your brain that food and sex does.
Mm.
So it's another pathway of like, if you've got a fear, think about that, doing something like EFT, and also when you get to do it for others, that really can help you get through those moments, right?
Yeah, totally. I believe it. I'm not a big internet video person. And so I had my own trepidation about coming on today and doing this. This is the first, kind of podcast interview I've done. And I didn't really want to be honest. Like, the part of me that would just I would just, I don't want to be on video, but the reminder of, hey, this is good information that will help people. And I know that I have a story that people can relate to. And so once I got into that energy, which has been easy for me because that's how I've approached EFT since the beginning, it made it a lot easier. Like, I'm just here to tell my story. Like that,
Yeah.
that's my job on this earth, is to tell my story, relate to people, have empathy, and give them a gift that I have been given myself of tapping and presence. So
Pretty
yeah,
cool.
thanks for the reminder. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for,
Now I know this. I know. Okay, so you got a fear of being on camera. I know this process you can do. It's called tapping.
yeah.
Where do you feel in your body, Lyndsie? And
Right.
let's tap
Okay.
through
Okay. Yeah.
it.
Okay. What's cool too is just being on here and doing it also, just taking the action.
Yeah.
I don't feel that fear anymore. It's just, I've noticed before actually doing it, the fear is the strongest. But once I got here on camera with you, it went away.
It's
So
all
that's,
because of me.
yeah. And you
Yeah.
make it easy. Yeah. You do.
It is, that speaking of that, like I say that like in jest and like in just in a fun way, but it was also something I had to realize about myself, that I do like being with people. I do like having fun in conversations. And it wasn't until recently this year that I realized like that was something that I should claim and I should own. Right. And I should take and be powerful with it, because not everybody, everybody's unique and has their own thing. Right. And this is one of my things. I'm like, just going to have fun in conversations and be goofy and be funny. Right. Yeah.
You're natural at it, Brad.
What'd you say?
I said you're natural at it.
Yeah, I'm a goofball. Yeah. Okay, cool. So if anybody is interested in Lyndsie's work, you can go to facebook.com, and just in the search, you can put in the EFT tapping group, and then you'll find Lyndsie inside of there. And you run several groups a week that are basically exactly what we did, but you're guiding them through this. And I want to share, I've experienced it, and Lyndsie's great. And you have the privacy to just show up and be, just yourself. You can show up on camera, not on camera, and you just guide it as if it doesn't matter. The process is really, they don't have to like come out and say anything, because it can be a very personal process, right?
Yeah. So it's a safe space for anyone to show up, whether you've tapped before or not, to work through and release whatever kind of stress or blocks you might have. And we also open up for sharing, and it's very much a community feel, community space as well. Just be heard and witnessed and vulnerable if you choose to. But that's always an option. You can just learn and come learn the tapping.
Yep. And just doing something like this is the first step of, going through whatever fear you're facing. Like
Yeah.
that is part of the process. So give yourself credit, like, oh, I did this thing. And that's the very first step,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Totally. Come. Everyone's welcome.
it's cool. All right. Any last words, Lyndsie?
No, I think if any listeners have any questions about my story or the tapping, just feel free to reach out to me. My goal is to be a resource for anyone who feels aligned to tapping or wants to connect. So
Cool. Well,
thank you.
I appreciate you. And thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks. I had fun.
Yeah, me too. Bye-bye.